What's up everyone, welcome back to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. I am JayBee and today I'm going to be doing a very unscripted, almost unplanned video, but it's just come to my attention properly that we are going to see the debut of Velma in just a couple of days now. By the time this video goes out, it may even be tomorrow, so if you have seen it, please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, as the chances are that me being in the UK, I won't be able to see it for God knows when, so we'll put that there right now. So don't expect any quick reviews unless we find a way to get it instantly, or we FaceTime one of our American friends. Whatever the case may be, we don't know just yet, but do let us know. So I am sad to say that, judging by what I've read in terms of the reviews and just the previews, I don't expect that this show will be very good. Not to say that I think it's going to be overly woke or overly cringy, but definitely I can see it getting there to the point where it'll annoy people off rather than portray the message that the show wants to take. And honestly, it may surprise you to know that I am not a fan of over wokeness. Now, do I think that being woke makes things automatically bad? No. I think that the first couple of episodes of She-Hulk, forgetting the ending, despite it being woke, it was actually overly entertaining. And I'll think about other shows, and I can't really name any off the top of my head, but there have definitely been things that have been so woke that they're annoying. I think that there's a right and wrong way to go about that line, but regardless, I guess this video is going to be the top 5 things that Velma could do to make it good, and I guess that would encompass, the top 5 things that could make Velma great. So this is in no particular order, and for the most part it's not really been planned out. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in before the show comes out and see what I got right and what I got wrong. Number 5 on my list is just inspiration. It shouldn't be afraid to take inspirations from stuff. Now, while I have put the Wednesday series on the thumbnail, which I actually do think that if Velma is like Wednesday, it will be good, but obviously at the time of writing and animating, the Velma series would have been, they wouldn't have known what the Velma series would have in it, how it would have been written, how it would have been story phrased. But, I do think that if Velma goes the Wednesday route, it is the right way to go about things, and so I actually think I'd be very excited by that. But more importantly, the Daphne and Velma tone of things, I think that if it followed the formula of the Daphne and Velma books, we actually could be in for a pretty good treat here. Now, what I mean is make things well written and encompass the rest of the gang, at which Velma does look like it's doing. And I like that it's more of an edge to me than, say, the Daphne and Velma movies, which forgot Fred, forgot Shaggy, forgot Scooby. I think that it's good that the rest of the gang, except for Scooby, although I would like to see Scooby in this, it's good that they've been encompassed within this storyline. Now, go and read all 3 Daphne and Velma books, or at least maybe get a preview of them, although I would recommend reading them, because I think that the tone of those books, the story beats of those books, are largely the perfect formula for Mindy Kaling's Velma to follow, genuinely. Now, the 4th is going to be using the adult animation rating properly. So by that, I don't mean casual droppings of the F word, swearing, drinking, and drugs. I'm not against them in adult media per se, but I think that the adult rating should be used to explore themes and story beats that wouldn't be available in traditional Scooby. Maybe have you swearing, maybe make drugs someone's motivation or weakness, fine. But at the heart, I think the thing that this should do is give us what we loved about the darker things, but amp it up a bit. So I think back to one thing that I really love, and that's the Mystery Incorporated TV show. And some of those episodes, the monsters are genuinely scary and pose a lot of threat. Now with this, you have a chance to go a bit further. I always think back to some of the interviews that we've done, especially in terms of Mystery Incorporated. Mitch Watson told us that there were a few times with the episodes where they were like, hang on, we need to reel this back, you've made this too creepy. Well, I don't think the Velma show is going to have that problem. So if we can make things genuinely spooky and scary, we actually could see a break from that formula where whenever we sit down to watch Scooby-Doo, be it the yearly movies, the TV shows, we know that everything is safe, and that's great. It's nice to have that as a safe space. But ultimately, going into a Scooby-Doo movie, you already know, one, at this point, that the monster's not real, and two, that the gang aren't going to be threatened by this monster at all. They're going to show up, be creepy, and we're going to get a pretty good song while they run away from the monster, but that's about it in terms of story beats. That's a guarantee. And when something's a guarantee in your film, I feel like that's when it has a danger of getting a bit stale. Think back to Zombie Island. Zombie Island was so good because it opened up with the moat monster cutting through Fred's shirt, and I think that actually gave a lot of gravitas to the rest of the movie, where we were genuinely along for the ride with the Scooby Gang of being in states of fear, terror. We were in their shoes more than we ever have been. And I think with the Velma show, it would be fantastic to actually be scared for the gang again. In addition to those scary monsters, that boosted up, dark rating could actually be used for more complex story beats. So give us some story about depression, anxiety, and actually give it some respect. Like, let these characters go through things that you or I could on a daily basis. Let them be fatigued. Let them go through those motions that otherwise wouldn't appear in a Scooby-Doo project. Because one, you're going to get more relatable characters, potentially anyway. We don't need to be too heavy-handed with messages to the point where it's preachy, but 1,000,000,000%, we could explore more complex characters than we've ever seen within the realm of Scooby if they actually take some seriousness and some maturity with these themes instead of making things a crass joke. Now, the fourth is kind of like the fifth, although it's not really about things that would be impossible because of appropriateness, but it's also going to be a bit of a tagline onto that. So yes, we've added in potential swearing, we've added in potential drugs or scary monsters. But what does that mean? That means that the audience that's going to be sat down to watch Velma are going to be, 17 plus, 18 plus. Now, I don't want to make assumptions because some of the YouTube comments, some of the things that I've seen personally, we can't just assume that age means intelligence, but we can at least assume that an 18-year-old would be more understanding of complex storylines than a 5-year-old. I think that goes without saying. So it can actually factor into the mystery. Forget everything else, forget even any of the darker themes, and let's just focus on complexity. This could have the most complex and hard to solve mystery out of any Scooby-Doo project ever, with twists, turns, clues, and hidden details that an older adult would be expected to follow. We're in a different era now. It was a pain in the neck to rewind VHS tapes, so even if Zombie Island was the best mystery ever, the chances of finding them are a lot less now than it's on HBO Max, so you can pause, rewind, you can play things in slow motion. I think the Velma show would do well to utilise this fact and give us clues that aren't just like, Jinkies, look at this under a magnifying glass, or zoinks, look at that creepy painting over there. Hidden details in the background would be absolutely fantastic to have in this show, and it would be a shame to see just a normal Scooby-Doo mystery with the suspects, maybe one that's a bit more evil, but it's really just a red herring, and there's another one. It would be a shame to see that in this, when it's actually got potential to give us some really, really tricky things to solve. Now, the third is a bit complicated. It's not necessarily about the actual show or the contents of the show, but I think it's just a bit of transparency. I think a lot of people don't care about the Velma series. I'm not talking about the people that hate it already or that love it because, they like the message that it appears to be conveying. I'm talking about the people that'll look at it and go, maybe if it's on, I'll watch it. If it's not, I'm not bothered. Maybe. Say if Velma was cancelled, I doubt there'd be a lot of people that would go out starting petitions, signing petitions, and really rallying behind it to get it shown to the public. Even if it was cancelled tonight, pretty much the night before release, I personally don't think anyone would be out there fighting tooth and nail to save it. Now let's contrast this with a thing that we have seen recently, Scoob Holiday Haunt, which got massive support when it was shelved, to the point where there's still people signing the petition that we started. It is still being spoken about within the community, and I can't help but think that a part of that is because, obviously it had content that people did enjoy before. People may not love Scoob, but they tend to like the kids at the start of Scoob, and that's what Holiday Haunt would have followed on. So of course there's a little bit of that, but I would argue to this end that Mindy Kaling has been involved with a lot of good projects. The Mindy Project, Late Night, The Office. Like, she wrote and directed a lot of my favourite episodes of The Office, but if it translates or not, we'll find out. That aside though, Mindy Kaling is a name that's trusted within comedy, within writing and producing, so there may be some of that crowd that'll come over to it. But honestly, within the Scooby community, when we interviewed Michael Korinsky, and he was clearly passionate about Holiday Haunt and about Scooby, it gave fans a face to support, a name to support, a personality to support, and a video to go along with that. That's like, listen to this guy talking about this project that he clearly loves, and then try not to care about it. I think it's pretty difficult to do that. Not just that, but we also had Bill Haller on the show, who was the other director. Like, no one that was involved with Holiday Haunt really hid away. And with Mindy Kaling's Velma, we've heard nothing. We've tried to reach out to people that worked on the show, and we've heard nothing back. And I'm not saying that just an appearance on our show will do the world of good, but I do think it says a lot when we've not even had a trailer yet. There's not really a lot of transparency with this show so far, and I do think it would be very genuine for Mindy Kaling to get on a show like ours that isn't affiliated with, Screen Rant, ComicBook, Variety, to actually show her piece on why she's passionate about Velma, as opposed to, the corporate media buzzwords like, oh my gosh, we're gonna bring Velma into the new age. Like, that's fine, but doing some boots on the ground interviews and promotion, or even just a trailer, would do this series a lot of good, I think. If nothing else, goodwill from the community. Now, the second point is going to be respecting the classics. There is signs that that's going to happen with an Easter egg to Joe Ruby within one of the screenshots that we covered, and also Frank Welker being cast as Fred's dad. But I think it would be really cool to have some legacy characters and legacy actors in there. Like, I think a lot of people got bad will from Scoob because the cast was kind of miscast without much warning, without much care. So I think it would be great to have Matthew Lillard do a character in this, and to have Greg Delisle do a character in this. Not just fan service for the sake of it. They're genuinely talented voice actors, and I think it would be a shame to cast all of them aside in favour of this celebrity, that celebrity. So yeah, kind of a brief one, but that's it. So for number one, I don't know if this is going to boil down to personal preference, but I think that it should overall remain wholesome. Now, I know that people are instantly going to go, but it's adult animation, there could be swearing, there could be drinking, there could be drugs. How can it possibly be wholesome? But what I'm really meaning is, I think ultimately for the vibe of Scooby and Velma, we should be able to like the gang. We should be able to root for them no matter what. So it's kind of like I was saying in one of the original breakdowns. Yes, that sequence in the shower, that first screenshot that we ever got from the show, was completely horrific, and a lot of people had problems with that. But ultimately, the only thing that told me about the show was that there's a pretty evil, twisted villain out there, and a villain like that needs to be stopped. And maybe the gang will be a bit more flawed than we used to, maybe they'll have more complex issues, but ultimately, despite all of that, I want us to be able to root for Velma or root for Mystery Inc. to put this awful person away. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it'll take a bit of a journey to get there. Maybe they're banking on a second season to really, solidify that message. But ultimately, I do think that making Velma or Fred or Nerval villains, like twist villains, or doing things for the wrong reasons, I think is a mistake, because I think Adult Scooby is something that a few fans have been really wanting for a long time. I mean, me personally, I am one of them, although I would much rather have a Scooby Natural show or a Scooby Apocalypse adaptation or the, Gosnell cut from the 2002 movie released over this. But if we're gonna get a mature story, I at least want it to be literally, Scooby-Doo for older kids, for older teenagers, for adults, as opposed to here's Velma's show where she's gonna blame all the hate on racism and you know what I mean, all that stuff. I don't really want to get into that because it's just not necessary. You're literally doing Adult Scooby for the very first time, and you've got so much potential. Let's not waste on sniping at the audience that you're not even making it for anyway. Like the teaser trailer, kind of set up negatively. So I am worried, but as long as they prioritize that, I think it should be okay. So if Velma is out by the time that this video goes out, please let me know if you enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it, and what you'd rate her out of 10, or more appropriately for our channel, if you would smash or pass it. You can either do this for the whole series or maybe just select episodes. So yeah, if you do want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee Milly.